Hi everybody, Mrs. Pesek here. We're looking now at Summer Algebra 1 Review, video number 8. The topics are evaluate functions and find the slope of a line given 2 points on the line and determine if 2 lines are parallel, perpendicular, or neither. Let's take a look at our first example. If we're evaluating a function, f of x equals 4x squared minus 3x plus 6, and we want to find f of -1. That means we're going to plug in -1 wherever we see an x. So we're going to plug in -1 right here and right there. So we're going to have 4 times -1 squared minus 3 times a -1 plus 6. Well, order of operations says we have to handle the exponent before we handle the multiplication. So in this case, we are going to do the -1 quantity squared. If you do that on your calculator, put the -1 in parentheses before you square it, and you'll get a +1. So we have 4 times 1 minus 3 times a -1 plus 6. Well, you can think of this as plus a -3, so I get 4 times 1 is 4, and a -3 times a -1 is a +3, so I have 4 plus 3 plus 6, which ends up giving me 13. All right. And at this point, let's take a look at example 2. For example 2, f of x equals 3 times the quantity x minus 5 quantity squared plus 1. If we want to find the value of this function when x equals 2, we write that f of 2. And that means we're going to plug in 2 right here for that x. So I get 3 times 2 minus 5 quantity squared plus 1. So that's 3 times a -3 squared plus 1. Again, order of operations, we must do the exponents first. Well, actually, order of operations, we did parentheses first, right? We did the 2 minus 5, and we got -3. And now we do the -3 squared, again in parentheses in your calculator, and that's going to give you a +9 times the 3 plus the 1 gives us 27 plus 1 is 28. All right, let's take a look at example 3. Again, you know that at any time if I'm going too fast, you should just stop, pause, rewind the video. Find the slope of the line that passes through 4, -7 and 5, 3. So remember the formula for slope, we use the letter m to represent slope, and the formula is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And in this case, if we call this x1, y1, and we call this x2, y2, then we will be doing 3 minus a -7 over -5 minus 4. All right, that's the difference in our y's over difference in our x's. And so at this point, you know that minus a negative is plus a positive. So we get 10 over -9. So our slope is -10/9. Let's take a look at this example 4. Find the slope of the line that passes through 6, -1 and -2, -1. Again, if I call this x1, y1, and this x2, y2, my slope is going to be difference in my y's, so -1 minus a -1 over -2 minus 6. Well, -1 minus a -1, that's plus a positive, and -1 plus +1 is 0 over -8. 0 divided by -8 is equal to 0. So that's our answer for this one. Let's take a look at number 5. To find the slope of the line passing through -7, 4 and -7, 9. So again, using our slope formula, I'm going to do difference in my y's, that's 9 minus 4 over difference in my x's, -7 minus a -7. So this is going to give me 5 here, and minus a negative is plus a positive, so -7 plus +7 is 0. We're not allowed to divide by 0, so this is actually undefined. Let me try and write that a little bit neater. Undefined. All right. And if you tried to do that on your calculator, you would get some kind of error message. All right. So just so you know, this line here, since it has a slope of 0, would be a horizontal line. All right. As we could see, if we were going to plot these points, here 6, -1 is right here, and -2, -1 is right here. So you can see those 2 points would lie on a horizontal line, and the slope would be 0. Over here, with these 2 points, we said the slope is undefined, and that's because if we plot these 2 points, -7 Negative 7, 4 would be about here, and negative 7, 9 would be about here, and they would be on a vertical line. All right, vertical line. All right. There, that looks a little bit better. Okay, so let's go on to our next example. Let's see, recall first of all. Parallel lines have the same slope. Perpendicular lines have slopes that are opposite reciprocals. So determine if the lines are parallel, perpendicular, or neither. So in this first example here, all right, make this a little bit bigger. Let me slide this down. So if we're going to find out whether these lines are parallel, perpendicular, or neither, we need to identify the slope. Well, this looks like it's already in y equals mx plus b form. So the slope here is 2. This one's also in y equals mx plus b form. And here the slope is equal to negative 2. Well, they're not the same slope, so they're not parallel, but they're not opposite reciprocals either, so they're going to be neither in this case. All right, the slopes are opposite, but they're not opposite reciprocals. Let's take a look at number 7. All right, slide this example down a little bit. All right, so here, these two lines are not in slope-intercept form, so we need to put them into slope-intercept form before we can decide if they're parallel, perpendicular, or neither. So if we take this first one and we want to get y by itself, so I'm going to subtract 2x from both sides. So I get negative 3y equals negative 2x plus 9. And at this point, I'm going to want to divide both sides by a negative 3. That means I'm dividing everything by negative 3. So here I get y by itself on the left equals a negative divided by negative is a positive, so I get a positive 2/3 x, and 9 over negative 3 is going to be a minus 3. So there's my equation, and that means my slope would be 2/3. Over here in this example, I would need to again get y by itself, so I'm going to subtract 3x from both sides. So I get 2y equals negative 3x plus 4. I like to put the x term first because that's how we see it in slope-intercept form. And at this point, I would divide everything by 2 so I can get y by itself. And I get y equals negative 3/2 x, and 4 over 2 is 2. So here my slope is equal to negative 3 over 2. Well, negative 3 over 2 and positive 2 over 3 are opposite reciprocals. So we would say that these lines are perpendicular. All right, first example, we said they were neither. Second example here, we're perpendicular. Let's take a look at this third example. This is number 8. And if we are trying to determine if these two lines are parallel, perpendicular, or neither, this first one is not in slope-intercept form, so let's put it into slope-intercept form by subtracting 8x from both sides. So we get negative 2y equals negative 8x plus 5. And then we're going to divide everything by negative 2 so that I can get the y by itself. Negative 8 over negative 2 is a positive 4. So I get 4x plus a negative 5 over 2. So the y-intercept is negative 5 over 2, but the slope is equal to 4. Let's take a look at this example. This is already in y equals mx plus b form, so I can just see automatically that the slope here is equal to 4. Since our slopes are the same for both, we would say these lines are parallel. All right, so at this point, let's have you try some practice problems. There are 3 problems, so I'm going to ask you to try these problems, and then the solutions will be shortly after this on the video. So go ahead and pause this video while you try these problems and then check your answer. Okay, so here are the answers for these practice problems. For number 1, the f of negative 2 is equal to negative 21. For number 2, for number 2, the slope of the line from 5, negative 2 to negative 7, negative 8 was equal to 1/2. And number 3, the answer should be neither. So it's not parallel, it's not perpendicular, it's neither, because one slope One line had a slope of -3/4 and the other had a slope of -4/3. They are reciprocals, but they're not opposite reciprocals, so they're going to be neither. All right, so that's it for this video. If you're comfortable with these problems, go ahead and try Algebra 1 Summer Review Blackboard Quiz number 8. And if you have any questions, there's our email addresses, and let us know if you would like to communicate about this quiz or about the video. All right, have a great day.